I am Sharon Sorenson. I started my battleground agency in '74, retired in '22.
I'm Donna Arena. I got into licensing in 1983. I didn't start an agency in '83. I worked for several agencies. I went to work for Auto License Services and then became a partner with the woman that owned it. So that's how I started.
Yeah, I was working at a real estate office, and when I was appointed, the real estate broker set us up in the back room, and I guess he probably thought I'd bring in business. So I had one employee that worked back there, and then I had two employees, and they worked there for as long till I didn't work there anymore. And then we moved. We moved over here to by the margarita factory on Main Street to a little house. It's no longer there. And we were there for a while, and I still had the same two agents that worked for me. And I worked in escrow at that point. Then we moved again, and still the same two employees, and I hired another one. So we had three. None of them worked full time, and I wish I had cloned them because they were so good, and I was working another job, so I wasn't there. I just would go in the evening and make sure everything was okay, and they handled it very well. And then I added my daughter, and she worked there. And then I bought the building that we're in, and we had a little small room, and I had two employees at that point that worked full time. And then we moved into the bigger part, and we had quite a few employees, and it's just went from there.
What kind of fees were you making?
Started out at 50 cents to do a renewal, and $1.50, I believe, for title. And one Saturday, Jackie and I worked, and we made $65. And we were so excited. That was a lot of money at 50 cents a renewal. And, it was a lot of money. And so it was all up from there.
What was your average daily amount you'd make? How many people would come in?
You might have 20, 30 people on a really good day. I mean, there wasn't a big volume of people.
See, by the time I started in '83, the volume had picked up.
Yeah.
Because I went to work in '83 when I trained. I worked at the customer service booth at Vancouver Mall, and that's where they did the licensing. I worked for May Company. They owned the mall, so I worked for them, but I also worked for the auditor by doing the licensing. But I wasn't paid by the state or the county then. I was paid by May Company. Then I quit them all, and that's when I let the agencies know that I was available if they needed someone to work. So I worked for the Gundersons Monday through Friday, and I worked for Donna Breck on Saturday. Well, then Donna wanted to hire me full time, so I went full time with Donna Breck and worked for her for a year, and then she wanted me to become her partner. So we were partners for about 3 years, and then she retired. You can't sell your agency, or you couldn't then anyway. I don't know about now. Can you sell your agency now?
No.
Okay. There was a time when they said we could, remember?
You what?
A time that they said we could sell our agencies.
I do not remember ever being able to sell it.
Yeah. Well, I think there was about a year
They
or two.
tried really hard. They tried to get that through.
Yeah.
But they never did. And we were responsible for everything, and we had to do everything right, but it really wasn't our business. Even though we hired people, ran it like a business,
Yeah,
except I got upset with Greg one time because you couldn't get supplies. I mean, what kind of business do you run where you don't have supplies? And here you are trying to run a business, which wasn't really our business.
And we'd have to go like to another agency and get like trip permits or, you know,
Oh, yeah.
if we ran out.
Yeah.
So anyway, all I did was I bought the bank that you start the day with. Like if you start with $100,
Mhm.
so I bought the bank from her, and that's how I owned the business. Well, then I had to be bonded, and I had to be okayed by Olympia.
My agency was in existence when he retired and I applied. And so after they picked me, then we had to go downtown and work. And they trained us on the job down county.
So what was your RFP like? Was it like what we've had to go through, where you have to bring up a business proposal and
No,
all of those?
we just had to learn how to do the business.
Right.
fill out
just-
an application?
yeah.
We had to, well, no, we wrote a letter.
Yeah,
I think we wrote,
I
and then
think
we had
that's
to-
about all we did.
we
Yeah,
had to be bonded.
we had to, and we had to present ourselves as why, in this letter,
Right.
why we
Yeah.
should have the agency.
Do either of you have any insight on what it was like to start a business in a male-dominated business ownership time?
My husband and I owned our own plumbing company. And then he was killed in an accident. So I took over the company. So I had to notify, I forget who I notified, anyway, that it was a woman-owned company now. I got like bids on jobs before a man did because I had a woman-owned company. So I took preference because women and minority-owned companies. They keep such a close eye on you too at the licensing. They're
Yeah.
constantly, at least they used to. I don't think it's so much now because I don't think they have the time or the people.
Yeah.
But back then they were out auditing all the time.
And actually it wasn't a complicated business. You sold renewals and you did titles and you collected money and you balanced every night. And that was basically it. I mean, it wasn't like it is now where you have all this other record keeping. And
Yeah.
I mean, we had to keep records, of course, but nothing like it is now.
So when did you see that shift from back when it was a lot easier to now?
Oh, I would say it was kind of around the time they did the computers. It
Right.
began to get, instead of being easier, it got more complicated.
What was your inventory ordering process like back then?
We sent out what we needed. It was pretty cut and dried. We didn't really have too much trouble.
How many subagents were there in this area back in the 80s?
I was the only one in the 70s. I don't know when the next one.
There were at least 7.
I think so.
The original
Somewhere around there,
seven.
yeah.
I think so.
Jean and
There was Camas, there was Thriftway,
we had one in
there was
Yeah.
Gunderson, there was yours.
we had one in the Heights. What was his name?
That was the blue hairs. Remember, we called them blue hairs?
Yes. Yeah, husband and
Because they had
wife.
blue hair. They had
Yeah.
gray hair like we do now.
Right.
But
Only everybody
it
had
was always
blue hair.
blue. You can't just have a business and just expect it to run itself.
No, I had to make, even though I had 2 really reliable people, and Jan had worked for the county, so, she was familiar with everything. And I'll tell you, I wish I could have cloned Jackie and Jan.
How did you ensure you had good employees?
I tried to hire people I knew or people who I was
That's
familiar
great.
with.
Right.
What is
For-
the process like watching your business being taken over by your daughters and your granddaughters?
I think it's wonderful.
They have done so well with it that all I did really the last, 5-10 years, maybe 8 years, all I did was payroll and taxes stuff, bookkeeping stuff.
And that's all I ever wanted to do. I didn't want to do with people.
Oh, I loved the computer and the people and what happened to me was I went on vacation and evidently they had passed a thing that you had to tell them you were going on vacation and you had to put yourself on hold. Well, I didn't know that. I went on vacation. When I came back, I was out of the computer and had to go through the whole process again in order to get back on, and it wasn't worth it. I had good employees that were better than I was, so.
What do you think was the most rewarding part of the business?
Well, it was a living. That's what we were
It was
there for, to
Yeah,
make a living.
and
And it was a good living.
it was, and it
And
was.
still is a good living.
I think the rewarding part was having it passed to my
Exactly.
children.
That and
That
the
they could-
accomplishment of,
Yeah,
doing a good job,
Yeah.
keeping the business going. A lot of them fell by the wayside for theft or whatever. It's prideful to say, it's still going.
yeah. It's when I retired, I didn't have to worry about somebody else moving in and taking it over, and I would have cried.
Yeah.
But since they were capable of doing that,
I was thinking today, Tamara, Alicia, we got Annie coming up. So I'm wondering if she'll come to work there, because she comes in and she'll do things in the office. She's 9.
I think the rewarding part to me was the people. I met a lot of people, and I just loved seeing them.
Oh, the regulars, yeah. the
I'd see
jerks,
them at the grocery store, and
yeah.
everybody knew me.
Yeah,
Everybody
says,
knew
"Hi,
me.
Donna, I just bought a car."
Yeah, right.
And I look
Phone
at my
calls.
watch and I say, "I'm off work at 6." I'd be out having a cocktail, and they'd want to. How much is it going to cost to license my car?
Yeah.
I don't know. I open at 9.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
When we first started, people weren't as mean as they are now. I mean, they had manners
They're just rude.
and they
They are.
respected our
Yes.
position. It's not like it is now.
They didn't, come out with a whole litany of 4-letter words.
Yeah.
I've been called everything but my name. After a while, they felt like they knew you.
Yes.
You became,
Yeah, you were
a friend.
a good friend.
Yeah, but it would only take one jerk to come in,
Yeah.
ruin your whole day.
Yeah.
I called the cops on a customer when he threatened to kill me.
Yeah. Then.
I know I'm on the phone with 911, and he's standing in front of me. And she says, "What is your name and address?" And I said, "Well, I'll give you my first name, but I'm not going to give you my address or my last name because he's standing right in front of me." So he walked away then. And then the security in the store followed him around the store, and I'm on the phone to 911. They sent a cop out, but he was about 13, probably right out of the academy. He just kept looking at me, and I, you're the one with the gun, not me. It can be threatening, some people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, we had the old guy. I had a pillow on the bench, and he took the pillow home. He did offer to bring it back later, but I declined. It had a car on it. It was a cute little pillow, and he took it home, just picked it up and went home with it.
If someone were here right now and said, I'm opening a new sub-agency. What advice would you give them?
Be honest.
Have fun.
Yeah. Keep good records.
Yes, keep good records.
So let's pretend that this video is for lawmakers in Olympia. A lot of lawmakers don't understand the way sub-agencies work.
I think that having agencies like this, which is kind of unusual, there's not a lot of states that have it. And I have had so many people say, this is so nice to be able to walk in here, do my title work, not have to wait for driver's license people and all these other people, that it's just, and you don't have to wait for hours and hours, and people are pleasant and nice and
Helpful.
helpful.
Go to
Yeah.
Oregon or California and try and renew your tags.
Yes.
Have them do that.
Las Vegas, some guy said, in Las Vegas, we have to take a lunch.
Yeah.
It's a real customer service. And,
It is, definitely.
and people, it's been around so long that they probably really don't realize now
it,
what a
no,
service it is. But when
Most
we
people-
first started out, they loved it. It was,
Well, most people think we work for the state.
yes,
They don't
right.
know we're privately owned.
Why do you think it's so important for sub-agencies to thrive?
To keep people in the business.
Yeah.
We-
There's a lot of people that need, it's their job, their business, their livelihood. And
Why
if
would you have just one place to go to renew your tags in
Yeah.
the state,
right.
city?
Could you see a model where this could exist solely on the internet, where everything is done online?
No,
No.
How
For
come?
some things they do now, it's fine.
Yeah,
But
for the renewals online,
For
all of that
title
is
work,
wonderful.
salvage vehicles, boats.
How do you think that being a woman business owner and running a sub-agency has impacted your life for the better?
Well, it's gives you independence. Made you feel like you accomplished something. And you're proud of the business.
So in our office now, we refer to each other as our second family.
Mhm.
And the gals and the guy that we work with, and we're all very close knit. Do you feel like that's pretty consistent with the way that it was for your agencies
Sure.
and probably other
Yes.
agencies
Yeah.
around?
Their
Oh,
family,
yeah.
and their family is family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we take care of each other.
Oh,
we
yeah.
celebrate Christmases and
Mhm,
holidays
birthdays,
together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, you work very close together and you have the same, advice from each other and you doing the same work. You get very close.
Well, and the people that work for you are working for the number one reason, to earn money to support their family. So we have to be able to pay these people a good wage.
Right.
So the good employees will stay. The bad ones are going to leave sooner or later.
Mhm.
They always do. But the good ones will stay if you give them a good wage.
You have to pay them well and treat them well, and they'll be there forever.
Good work-life balance.
Hmm?
Good work-life balance.
Yeah. And we only had a couple that quit,
For the most part,
You
it's
know,
been-
that really quit. And the rest of it, one guy we had, he lasted a couple of years, there was nothing wrong with his work. He was very good. He just never has stuck at a job very long.
it's
And
a floater.
somebody
Yeah.
said that he stayed there longer than any other job he'd ever had, so that made me
That
feel
is a
good.
compliment.
And he was a good worker. They've all been really good workers. I've never had to worry about any of them. I always tried to treat them well. I tried to not ever be the boss.
What are your hopes for the future of the business?
I just feel very privileged to have had the opportunity to be in this business.